It's Fish at 6 on this midweek. I'm Mike Fisher, your trusty and trusted reporter. I am in Frisco. This is the Fish Bowl. That is the Star. By the way, I'm going to be poking around the Star tonight, so I may have some stuff for you on Thursday morning. Meanwhile, quickly from Oxnard, Tyler Guyton, knee soreness, left practice. We'll keep an eye on it. Micah Parsons kind of took the day off yesterday, says everything's fine, no problem. And today, fight! Jake Ferguson versus Donovan Wilson. A stiff arm here and a big swing there, and things got broken up, but it was a fight. It's also a fight to try to get to truth and reason when it comes to, among other things, CeeDee Lamb. We're going to try to do that for you tonight. So get in, get on, be good. I will, of course, read all your comments, especially if they're sweet. There's a time and a place for ridiculous, zany NFL trade speculation from the media. And fortunately, I thought that silly season, as we've come to call it, that time and that place was over. For me, once it smells like football, we don't bother too much with that. We don't spend a lot of time on the silliness. Again, doesn't mean transactions don't still happen. Doesn't mean the Cowboys can't sign free agents or cut this guy or add that guy or trade for that guy. All that stuff can be real. I'm talking about the goofy stuff. But even during silly season, there needs to be some sort of boundary on ridiculousness. And I talk every once in a while about the privilege that I do feel. I first got one of these 40 years ago. This is your press pass. I remember getting a Denver Bronco press pass, 1980, whatever it was, 1984, to training camp. I was a little wet behind the ears. I'd like to say that I didn't have chest hair. I had chest hair when I was 9, so that's not true. But, figuratively. And I'm honored every time the league or the team says, yes, you can come again. I really am. Here's another press credential for the year. It's a big deal to me. And I bet you it would be to you too. And so I treat it that way. And I treat the responsibility of what I do for a living that way. I don't take myself seriously, but I take the job seriously. So we've got somebody purporting to cover the Cleveland Browns who wants his team to trade for CeeDee Lamb. I'm going to spend a moment here on trade, on toll, and on truth. There's a misunderstanding about what tolling means too, and we're going to get to the truth of that. So bear with me here. Somebody who purports to cover the Cleveland Browns wants the Browns to trade for CeeDee Lamb. As you know, that thing is not in the plans. Such a thing is not in the plans of the Dallas Cowboys. But it's Jerry's fault. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones and his own goofball pronouncements have pried open Pandora's box. Jerry's the one that has more than a few times said things that would cause the casual to think, oh, maybe they really are trading him. And again, during silly season, spend some time on that. You just do it responsibly. But now, somebody's telling their readers that Jerry Jones could really trade CeeDee Lamb to the Browns now? So, I don't know, have at it. But let's have at it while we're guided by at least a pinch of actual, knowledge. This Browns-tied media outlet writes that the Browns, quote, should be willing to go all in on trying to acquire Lamb. They point out the obvious opinion. Lamb's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and he's just 25 years old. Thanks, investigative reporter. We had no idea. I didn't know he was 25. They point out the Googleable stats. Lamb racked up 135 receptions for 1,749 yards and 12 touchdowns. I know. We know. What's your point? And then they enter the land of the uninformed and they make their point and they write. How about a trade that would send CeeDee Lamb to Cleveland? Okay. And the centerpiece of what the Cleveland would give back is Amari Cooper. Diddly diddly dink. What? This is a Cleveland Browns news website. Give them a first, a second, and Amari, they say. Quote, that trade package would make sense for both parties involved. It would? I'm going to leave the Browns' willingness to give up 2 premium picks, along with the needed willingness to pay Lamb $34 million APY, 35. Again, I don't know the Browns. I don't text people in the Browns front office. So I don't pretend to be able to tell you what they would think about anything like that. I stay in my lane. See how I did that? I don't know about the Browns side of it, so I don't pretend to. This site also claims that, quote, Dallas would be getting a true number 1 wide receiver who would help them compete in the next few years. Oops. And this is where we separate the wheat from the chaff when it comes to who with one of these has any idea what they're talking about. In fact, you don't even need one of these. I believe we have 72,000 fish heads in Cowboy Nation who right now you're watching this going, wait a minute, none of that's right. How would Amari Cooper, for one thing, how would he help the Cowboys compete for the next several years? Because anybody with the most cursory knowledge of the Cowboys knows, first of all, that Dallas absolutely does not view Amari Cooper as a true, quote, true number 1 wide receiver. I thought everybody knew that. The fact that Dallas doesn't view him that way as of 2 years ago is why they gave him up in a too cheap trade in that infamous trade to the Browns. For the few people who watch this show who don't know, shrinkage. Google it and get past George Costanza. Go find Mike Fisher and Richie Witt and shrinkage on Google with Amari Cooper, and you will have a very deep understanding of why the Cowboys gave up on Amari Cooper. Whether you agree with it or not is a different thing. We broke the story as to why they were done with him, and then they traded him. Oh, also, anybody with even the most cursory knowledge of the Browns knows that no team at present is going to get an Amari who, quote, would help them compete for the next few years because he's in the final year of his deal. He can't help you compete. You can't be guaranteed that he's going to help you compete for the next few years because you won't have him under contract for the next few years. Cleveland fans, I assume, know this. The Browns, he asked for an extension at age, whatever he is, 30. He's got a $20 million contract. This is the final year. He asked for an extension. They told him no. They gave him a incentive-based raise, kind of. They told him no. We don't want to give you an extension. We don't want to pay you for more years at $20 million APY or more. The Browns like him. They don't want to do it. Some media idiot in Cleveland thinks that the Cowboys suddenly like him and would do it. Just bring a little intellect to the table and help out your readers. It's the same thing with the idea of tolling. This is a very complicated NFL concept. And I got to go every summer. I go back and look it up again just in case. It goes something like this. Here's the in crayon version. Okay, so I can understand it. If you're under contract and you decide, you know what, I don't like my contract, I'm going to hold out for the year. You not only lose that money, in Amari Cooper's case, of course, that's $18 million. your contract, quote, tolls. By the way, good job, NFLPA. Great job. Your union members, if they don't go to work because they don't think the labor setup is fair, they lose a year of their seniority. Their contract, in the case of the football player, the contract tolls. What does that mean? It means CeeDee Lamb has to contractually do 2024 all over again in 2025. As it stands right now, he is due to be a free agent after this year. Of course, if that ever happened, the Cowboys would franchise tag him, obviously. So he's put in this time, he's put in this effort to get to the point where he's in the final year of a contract where he gets his fifth-year option picked up, which, by the way, not every guy gets. $17.99 million. Let's call it $18 million for him. Not enough for his talents in a vacuum, certainly. You sit out a year, you not only lose the money, your contract tolls, and you aren't a free agent. That final year of your contract, now you got to do it again. You want to sit out that year? Then it goes into perpetuity. You don't get the final year of your contract done unless you participate with the football team in the final year of your contract, with one little asterisk. You can sit out the first 5 weeks. You have to show up before week 6. So Amari Cooper could sit out weeks 1 through 5, show up for week 6, then and go to work. Then his contract would kick in at that time. Now, does he get to paid for weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? That apparently, as near as I can tell, is kind of up to the discretion of those involved. So he could lose $5 million. By the way, if he sits out all 3 preseason games, it appears he will, that's $1 million. That fine is that's a fine. That fine is retractable. The Cowboys could retract that. By the time they sit down here in the next, hopefully, 2 weeks and hammer something out, they probably will rescind those fines. You can do that on a rookie contract. But if he sits out 5 games, he loses $5 million regular season. Oh, and this. The Cowboys, let's say they play really poorly in the first 5 games. Let's say things are going poorly. The thing's already going way downhill. The Cowboys could say, thanks for showing up. Let's give you your physical. You're not really in shape. Let's put you on PUP. You go on PUP for the year. Your contract tolls again. Good job, NFLPA. Holding out accomplishes way too little for the player. The only thing it does is it can have the team go, holy smokes, we're not going to be good with this guy. And the Cowboys offense obviously would not be nearly as good as they plan on it being without CeeDee Lamb. That much is clear. I know that CeeDee Lamb's agents understand this, which is why he's not sitting out the year. And he's probably not sitting out a chunk of the year, talking about the regular season, because his contract would toll. That's the truth. Some people are scared and using scare tactics, to tell you what CeeDee Lamb could and couldn't do. I just told you. His options are fairly limited here. This is a protest. He is staging a protest. In the end, it'll probably end up being semi-ineffectual. Except for the fact that he might get $35 million APY. In closing, on trades and tolls and truth, I say this a lot to you. By the way, thank you for hitting the like button and thank you for subscribing to what we do here. Oh, and cowboyscountry.com on Athlon. You know what I'm talking about. I'm careful here. The NFL can be a never say never world. Things that you thought, oh, that'll never do that. Those 2 guys will never make up. That trade doesn't seem to make it. It's a never say never world. Things happen. And so, media spitballing and fan brainstorming, and we've done a lot of that here. We do a lot of that here, especially in the off season. It can be fun. But some level of responsibility needs to be part of the equation. And all we have here in this remnant of silly season is a suggestion of a trade that demonstrates complete ignorance as to what's going on with every single component involved, thus crashing foolishly through the boundaries of ridiculousness. Turn in your press credential. Fish out.